Hi, grade 7 students. We're at day number 19, page 440. This is a mid-chapter practice test or quiz or whatever you want to call it. One of those green pages. Problem 1 says compare and contrast histograms and bar graphs. And it tells you, hint, hint, go to lesson 9-1. Remember that when we talk about comparing and contrasting, you are going to need to tell how they're like and how they're different. The comparing part is how they're alike. The contrasting part is how they're different. Use sentences. You're going to need at least 2 sentences to answer number 1. Make sure you look at lesson 9-1. Question 2, give an example of data that could be displayed using a histogram, and the hint they give is lesson 9-3. Well, why don't you go to lesson 9-3? Find a pictograph on lesson 9-3 and write down here what they were talking about in that pictograph. Wouldn't that be a way to answer question 2? Certainly it would. Okay. Number 3, use intervals 0 to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, and 9 to 11 to make a histogram of the data. Well, the data they're talking about is off to the right. I'm going to give you a jump start on this. I'm going to show you at least somewhat of how you could start this. Make sure you have plenty of room. Notice I'm going to write 0 to 2 in a vertical fashion so that I save space, because I know that I'm going to end up creating bars above these, and I want these bars to be able to be seen reasonably well. Some people might go 6-8 like this, but I think that spreads things out a bit, and it's easier to see things if you keep the bars somewhat reasonable in size. But that's my opinion. Okay, so here's my histogram basic framework. When you do this, don't forget, you need a title at the top. You need numbers on this side, and you need a label for those numbers. We've got the numbers here, but we also need a label for these numbers. How do we decide how high our numbers should be over here? Well, I would suggest you look at your data on the table. Do you notice how the frequencies are anywhere from 0 to 6? Oh, wait a minute, am I right on that? Yep, 0 to 6. But if you start thinking about these intervals, all of a sudden the numbers get much higher. Going to give you a clue here. I would highly suggest you make sure you're anywhere from 0 to 13 or 14 up here, because you're going to need room enough to make the bars high enough for this histogram. So anyway, this gives you an idea of how to start this. Number 4 says, make a circle graph of that data. Uh-oh, how do we make circle graphs again? Well, if you recall from the lesson, it was lesson 9-2, there were 2 different ways to make circle graphs. One way was if they gave you data that was in the form of numbers, right? I'm sorry, percents rather, excuse me. If they gave you percent values, you take those percents, you change them into decimal numbers by moving the decimal point 2 places over, and you multiply by 360, and that gives you the degree measurement for your piece of the pie, so to speak, that's going to go in that circle graph. So for example, if let's say they gave you a percent like 40%, you change that to 0.40 times 360, and that would give you your degree measurement. In this particular case, 0.40 times these numbers gives us what? 144 degrees, I believe. Yep, 144 degrees. So, but that's not what you're going to get in this particular case. You're going to be having a situation here where you're going to have some bars that you're going to create. Now, I'm not going to tell you the numbers of each of these bars, because that's for you to just figure out on your own. But let's imagine that the bars are somewhat like this size, and maybe the numbers off to the side for these bars, well, bar like that. And let's say that this bar represents 3, and this bar represents 5, and this bar right here represents 1, 2, 8, 9, 10, and this bar represents 1, 2, 3, 7. Now these aren't really the actual numbers for the bars of this particular circumstance, but let's just imagine that it is. If somebody said to you, how could you create a piece of pie for a circle graph for this particular bar? Well, how many total numbers are there here? 10 plus 7 plus 5 plus 3, that's 25. This particular bar is 7 out of 25. Can I change that into a decimal number? Yes, it's 0.28. Can I then take that 0.28 and multiply by 360 to get a degree measurement? And I could. And I could do the same thing with each of the other one of these sections. This would be 10 out of 25, which is the same thing as 0.40. 0.40 times 360, we did that over here. That was 144 degrees. I don't know what 0.28 times 360 is, so let's do that quickly. 4, 28, 0, 0, 12, 7, 0, 8, 0, 100. 100.8, that's about 101 degrees, because there's going to be that decimal point there. What about this one? 5 out of 25. Well, that's going to be, let's see, times 4, that's going to be 0.20. So 0.2 times 360, what's that going to be? That's going to be 72 degrees. And finally, 3 out of 25, is that even showing up? Nope, it's not. But let's tilt that down again. And that would be, let's see, times, that would be 0.12 as a decimal number, top number divided by the bottom number, and 0.12 times 360. What's that? I don't know. Oh, let's see, 0, 12, 7, 0, 0, 6, 3, 0, 2, 13, 40. I get 43.2 out of that. So I'm going to round that to 43 degrees. So now I've got all my degree measurements for my circle graph. If you have a protractor, that's awesome. If you don't have one, just kind of estimate as best as you can. Let's see. What would we say? Let's start with this one, 101 degrees. How big is 101 degrees? Well, I just happen to have a protractor here, and 101 degrees would be about like this. And I'd put the 0 to 2 sector in that slot. What would 144 degrees be? That would be like about right here. So that would be my 3 to 5 interval. What about 72 degrees? What would that be like? That would be about right here. Oop, didn't nail that one very well. That would be my 6 to 8. And my final interval, the 9 through 11, would go here. So that's the way you would change this data of the histogram into sectors for a pie graph. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. But if you get stuck, give me a call. 5 and 6. Choose an appropriate type of display for each situation. Well, that's going to revolve around that purple table that's in lesson 9-3, where they gave you all those choices of tables and graphs you can use. Line graphs, line plots, tables, circle graphs, pictographs. And they give you reasons why one would choose a particular graph compared to another. So take a look at lesson 9-3 for 5 and 6. 7 and 8, they're looking for you to find mean, median, and mode of each set of data. So in other words, problem 7 has 3 answers, and problem 8 has 3 answers. Go ahead and use a calculator if you need to on those. Let's review a little bit. What if I had the following numbers? 5, 1, 7, 2, 20, and 24. If I wanted to find the mean, the median, And the mode, how would I do that? Well, if you recall, I always started with the mode. Which number appears most often? Well, in this case, I don't have a mode because none of the numbers appear more than once, so I'm just going to write none. How do I find the mean? Well, I add up all the numbers. These two add up to 6, plus 7 is 13, plus 2 more is 15, plus 20 is 35. 35 and 24 is 59. And then I take that 59 and I divide by the amount of pieces of data, which in this case there's 6 of them. And so that goes into it 9 times. And I get 9 and 5/6 as my mean. Or if I want to figure it out as a decimal number, I'm going to bring down a 0. Let's see, that goes into that 8 times. It goes into that 3 times. Oh, looks like it's going to repeat. Or 9.83 repeating. Either one of those would work. How do I find the median? Remember, I got to put them in order from smallest to largest. So I've covered those. I've covered that one. Then that one. And then the last 2. And then I count to the middle. Uh-oh, I've got 2 middle numbers. How do I do that? Well, I add them up and divide by 2, so my median in this case is 6. Okay? Number 9. If Nevada makes $1,200 per month, how much does she budget in dollars for rent? I'm not going to do the one for rent. I'm going to do the one for utilities, but this will give you an idea how to approach the rent issue. Utilities, if you look at the graph, says 20%. What we're really trying to figure out here is what number is 20% of the $1,200 that Nevada makes per month. What number is 20% of that $1,200? And that's just simply taking this times this to get this. Because 0.20 times 1,200 is $240. It's just a simple percent problem, 20% times 1,200. All of this multiplication. In your case, you've got rent, so that's 30%, a different math problem. Finally, the last one, I'm going to let you solve number 10 on your own. Thank you. If you have any questions, give me a call. My number, as you know, is 517-242-3138. Have a good day.